ISO look going strong. What's cracking, guys? Welcome back. I hope everyone is doing well. Here in Fukuoka, Japan, they've lifted the state of emergency. So some people are kind of getting back to what is a semblance of normal daily life. Some people are against it. Some are for it. I understand both camps, with there being the risk of a second wave hitting. But especially in a country like Japan, where so many offices don't have the tech level necessary to remote work and things like that, I can also understand wanting to get back to normal daily working life. But anyways, this video isn't about that. This video is what I will hope, or I plan to make be the closing chapter in my Jet life or Jet series of videos. So in this video, I'd just like to talk about what my 5 years, I did 5 years on Jet, my 5 years as a Jet, what that experience was like for me personally. Anyways, enough rambling, let's get down to it. So for me, I think the sweet spot for doing the whole LT job is 3 years, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. I'll start off with year number 1. Year number 1 for many people is going to be that awkward year. You're in a new country, potentially completely different culture, and you're just really trying to get your feet down on the ground. For me personally, that was, like most people, my awkward year, and it was also the year where I think I was most open to trying new things. I think that's very important for your first year as well. If you come in your first year with a very closed mindset, then you're not going to open yourself to trying some of the new things and experiences that may come your way. On the flip side of the coin, for some people it's important to kind of stabilize themselves before going and trying new things. So there's some balancing that needs to happen there. But for me personally, I was being fairly social. Even though I didn't want to go anywhere, I'd say to people when they asked me, I was like, yeah, I'll go there. I don't want any of you to hate me and stop inviting me to places. So yes, I will go and try that thing. I will do that. It was super tiring. I don't necessarily advise that to anyone, but that's what it was like for me. And regarding pertaining to the job, yeah, first year, basically 10% Japanese. I could fumble my way around. I was all about smiling. I'm like, hi. Hi. That was me for a good portion of my first year working as an LT. And it's an important year because it's the year many people and many of your students will come up to you. Oh, you're brand new, you're whatever. And they're really interested in getting to know you. And the way you convey yourself to them in your first year will really set a standard for how things go if you decide to continue for another couple of years. Year number 2. Now this is the year when you've basically stabilized yourself. You're most likely used to the job. You know some students, you know some of your co-workers, and you are more or less stable living in Japan. And for me, that's what it was like. I had my students that I connected well with. I had co-workers that I was beginning to form a relationship with, like a bond, like we could joke with each other, talk freely. I had some teachers that whenever we're on vacation, we'd go out for lunchtime to get ramen together or eat some kind of lunch together, and that was always really cool. And it was also a point where the Board of Education would start to look and decide, okay, this person is kind of responsible. We can give them some responsibilities. For me, my second year was kind of a fly through year. It's like, okay, I learned all these things in first year. These things I wasn't aware of, I can try and do these things in my second year. So my first year, for example, we had sports day events where there were some cool dances that took place. And I was like, oh, I'd like to try that. But of course, as a first year, it felt super awkward to be there. My first one being like, oh, can I do this? I wasn't up for that. So in my second year, that is when I started to approach some of the teachers and being like, oh, for the sports day event, would it be okay if I danced with some of the students? Would it be okay if I ran with some of the students? And I think that precedent you set for yourself during your first year, the relationship you build with people, helps to kind of either open their minds to you taking part in these things or just completely wanting to shut you off and be like, no. Granted, I do accept that maybe for my city, my co-workers and students, everybody, they were like super nice. I know there are some municipalities that have more of a they don't want to really allow you to do that because it's kind of their thing and it's like super awkward. So take for that what you will, but for me second year was pretty solid. Things were kind of growing and I was able to do a lot more at school than before. And in terms of my social life, I started to take a step back from always going out with people and doing all kinds of things. Granted, I would still go out with like a cool group of people to have some drinks sometimes or go and get food together, but I was not pushing myself as much as I was during my first year to try and go out and do all these things because I was worried about people hating me or not wanting to do things together with me. I just stopped giving a damn. Year 3, like I said, year 3 for me personally, by far the best. And the reason I also think doing 3 years could be most ideal for most people in most situations when you're teaching like elementary, junior high, high school is because, take for example, if you're doing junior high, high school, you teach some kids from first grade. You stay 3 years. That's 3 years. You get to build a relationship with them and you get to see them off at graduation. And depending on the kind of relationship you build, this can be super touching. And for me, I have no words. It was just an amazing experience. I still remember this one kid who told me that before he graduated, he asked if I'd still be in Japan when he became an adult. And I was like, I'm not sure. He says, if you're not here, please come back or maybe I can visit you because I want to drink together with you when I'm an adult. Got me right in the feels, man. Right in them feels. But yes, obviously my main motivation is not to go drinking with my students when they become of age. It was just that for me, those 3 years and those students that I spent that time with, we did so many things together. They were the first batch of students that I did dancing together with at sports day. We ran together. I would take part in some of the parent-teacher association activities and they would be there cheering for me. I went to their clubs and sometimes practiced with them or gave them advice. And of course, I did classes with them. But let's be honest, most of the relationships you build with students are outside of the classroom, not really inside. Some people it is, but for me, it wasn't. Classes were kind of boring. And then the next big thing were also the co-workers that I was able to really build a relationship with. Like that year, the co-workers that I had with me, especially at my junior high school for that third year, the best ever. And of course, for other people, they can maybe just have crappy co-workers that made them not even want to be at school. But like I said at the start, this is for my personal experience and how it was for me. And for me, if I had stopped at 3 years during a JET LT, I think that would have been perfect. That would have been an amazing way to go out. But me being the crackhead that I am, I didn't. I continued on. Year number 4. No, this year, year number 4, by far the most difficult and depressing year I had as an ALT. And the reason I say that is it was just, I don't know. I think some things that impacted me greatly at first was the fact that those students I had a very close relationship were gone. They graduated. A lot of the co-workers that I had built a really strong relationship were gone, and they were replaced by some very strange teachers at the school. I was like, what is going on? So I felt like if you talk to some of the people that I knew on the pro, like they were also a bit worried about me because it literally was like most days I was just trying to survive through everything and just watching things pass me by. Like it was awful. I felt like I had no place, nowhere I belonged, anything. It was such a dark year. Oh my goodness. But thankfully, some very close friends of mine, or friends that I became close to during this year, they saw, I'm assuming they saw that, or they just wanted somebody to hang out with and I randomly got chosen. I don't know. But they started to take me with them to go to the gym. And before this, you can ask anybody who knew me from back in Jamaica. I was very anti-gym. I thought working out with weights and shiz was for squares. Like, no, never weights. Body weight only. Calisthenics all the way. But, you know, I really wanted to try it. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. And it was thanks to them that I started to get into going to the gym and working out and using weights. So to everybody who I gave crap to before for using weights, I apologize. I now also like to go to the gym and lift weights. But yeah, back to the matter. It's them, that was near to the end of my 4th year, I think. And we started to go to the gym. After gym, we go eat food. Sometimes after that, we'd go out and hang out for a bit longer. And it kind of saved me in a manner of speaking. And also one of my coworkers who was still at the school, who kind of saw what was happening, you know, he also invited me to his house. And it was from that year, I think I started to kind of get to know some of my coworkers that I was close to, their families and stuff like that. I think it was a year before. But he started to invite me out more because I think he was worried about me. Really nice of him. Great guy. And his family is amazing. I miss them. I need to visit them. Damn you, Corona. But yes, year 4, in terms of work, after year 2, 3, a lot of the things related to work itself just becomes very repetitive. A lot of it is the same. It's like, okay, I did this before. This year, I'll do it this way. Maybe try something new. Work doesn't really change, but the people and the relationships that you do have will change. And I think that's something very important to know. Yes, sometimes some people have the freedom to change things around a lot, but you don't have that much freedom, I believe, as an LT. And many people might come over here thinking that they will be able to do whatever they want, and that's not necessarily the case. So, one thing to keep in mind, a lot of things pertaining to work stays fairly consistent. The people around you and the relationships that you have changes. So keep that in mind. And finally, we come to year number 5. So, okay, I think I would summarize year 5 as being the year where I literally just did not care. Many things that were happening, I would look on it and be like either hashtag effort or hashtag not my problem, because I won't be here next year. Maybe a kind of messed up mentality to have, but I think many people who make it to their 5th year kind of go through this phase where you have the people you're close to and you hold those people close, you treasure them, you hang out with them, but everybody else is kind of on the periphery. Yes, maybe sometimes, depending on your personality, you hang out with them. For me, I hung out with a good amount of people, but I had my close group that I knew that, you know, they had my back, I had their back. If I wanted to chill out and talk about things without worrying about anybody spreading any crap I say, which a lot of LT communities do, people just talk too much, I could hang out with them and it would be totally fine. But regarding work itself, like I said before, a lot of it was just me already being on autopilot, just going through classes. I think for me personally, I reached a point where it became less about what exactly I was teaching to the students. Granted, this was also around the point where they started to standardize having grades 5 and 6 students do official English classes and having tests and stuff like that. So at elementary school, I had some teachers who, after watching me do some classes, they wanted to kind of take charge, which I think was really good. And I think a lot of teachers need to do that. But most teachers won't have that confidence. So it's kind of a difficult ball game. But I had teachers who did that. And so instead of me worrying about, oh, what will I do for class? You know, I'd have a quick discussion with them. Okay, today we're doing this. I need you to do this, And then they would take charge. When they need me, I'd help with things. Outside of that, I'm kind of there sometimes sneakily talking to some of the students or making some jokes. Disrupting class like I'm not supposed to be. But for me at that point, it was literally just more about making final connections with some of my students, after fifth year, I don't know if or when I'll see them again. I just wanted to try and have good memories with them. And it was the thing that was it was the most important thing for me. Other than trying to find a job after I finished my fifth year, just having some nice memories to close out was what I focused on. And that was it for me. That was, like, I'd hear about certain things happening to LTs. I would give my feedback and stuff, but I wouldn't worry about it too much because I had to worry about me and what I would be doing. I couldn't give all of that focus or attention to those things that I know would be, yes, it will benefit people in the future, but you know, at the same time, there are other LTs who are there. For some people who are maybe the only LT in their city or something like that, yes, it'll be more difficult for you to have that kind of attitude unless you just literally give zero damns about anything. For me, it wasn't as difficult because there were other LTs there who would be going over to the next year and, you know, kind of taking up the mantle and carrying that torch kind of deal. So my fifth year actually wasn't too bad. I spent a good amount of it stressing about what I'll do after I finish, but it wasn't awful like my fourth year. And we got some new teachers to come in and the environment at school changed as well, so that was pretty good. But yeah, that was a solid fifth year. And fifth year was actually the year I also got to spread out a bit more. I think I became a bit more social during my fifth year. Not like my first year where I was overly social and giving energy to people who didn't deserve my energy. Yes, my energy is very precious, very, very precious. But I was spending time with people who were important to me or who I cared about and wanted to hang out with. And I also got to meet new people, get to know new people as well. So that was a great experience in and of itself as well. Fifth year wasn't bad. I said third year would be the perfect time to have ended, but I'm personally glad that I went 5 years. If I'm thinking about things outside of hurrying up and getting into my career, if I'm thinking about my experience as an LT in and of itself, I was glad that I did do that fifth year because it was a pretty good year as well. I made good memories, got to know good people, reconnected with some students who had graduated long before they came to visit and stuff. It was good. Actually, that first batch of students, they recently became 20 years old. So that's legal drinking age in Japan. And they had their whole big ceremony. And some of them reached out to me to invite me to their dosokai, which is like their coming of age ceremony. Not the ceremony itself. I didn't want to go to the ceremony. That was kind of, no. They invited me to go to their dinner, reception, drinking party, hangout thing. Dinner, let's call it a dinner. And I was very touched by that they actually reached out to invite me to that. Like these students, the first batch of third year students at junior high that I taught cared enough to reach back out to me and invite me to that. Things like that are the moments that make me feel like I really had an impact or I really did something or achieved something as an LT. It has zero to do with teaching English, but more so about the types of relationships that I built and the kind of impact the kind of impression that I have left on these students. And to me, that is the most precious thing. I know I've said it before, but if you can, while you're, like, everybody has their own goals, coming over here, doing LT, doing JET. But if you can, and if you're that type of person, just try and forge or form some very solid bonds and relationships with people around you, because more so than just doing English or forcing kids to sit down and read a textbook or do some kind of activity, those are the things that really stick out and stand out and warm your heart when you think back on it. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for me. It was a good time, and even though this will hopefully be the last video or closing video I have regarding my life as a JET LT, I'm looking forward to seeing what other content and what other things I'll be creating from here going forward. So let's look forward to that. So until next time, guys, see you around.